Hey guys, Jared here again, and I've just recently tested negative. So, yeah, if you might know, I said in previous videos I got the virus recently, but I've tested negative now, which is great. And I plan on seeing the new Mario movie soon, sometime next week, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And but yeah, I thought I'd decide to review one of my favorite movies. It is one of my favorite. But yeah, it is one of my favourite movies, and it is my number one favourite musical film of all time, Bugsy Malone. And a part of the reason I wanted to review this, I mean, I rewatched it recently, and part of the reason I wanted to rewatch it was because I recently did get to see one of the actors in this at the Talking Pictures TV live event that I went to. I did video about my time there. It's called My Time at TPTV live event if you want to check that out. But the person from the movie who I saw there was Bonnie Langford. She's in this movie. She's only a small role, but it was cool to see somebody from that movie on the stage, and that talking about it. She did mention, about Bugsy Malone and when she was on stage, and she also talked about, she was in Doctor Who. She played the companion Mel with, Sylvester McCoy, and she said that she had just got back from doing a convention in America, that was related to Doctor Who, and it was cool hearing her talk about, Doctor Who and Bugsy Malone there. But yeah, so kind of the whole premise of this movie, it's about like a gangster, it's a parody of kind of gangsters, and it's set in New York in 1929. But it was entirely filmed in England. But all the actors are like sort of child actors, if you can see. The oldest of the actors was guy Martin Lev, who plays Dandy Dan. He was born in 1959, and even then he looks younger than he actually was at the time, and he's passed away now, sadly. But yeah, he was the oldest of the cast, out of the main ones at least. And the youngest was a guy, Dexter Fletcher. He's become a director now, but he was the youngest of the cast members. He played the character of Babyface in this movie, and he was born in 1966. So the years range from 59 to 66, and basically you have in the movie you have two rival gangs. You have the guy Fat Sam, this guy here, and Dandy Dan, and like they use in this universe like pie. They throw like pies as like weapons, basically. But that's what Fat Sam's gang does. But Dandy Dan's gang has like the splurge guns, where they're guns basically, but it shoots like still like cream stuff. And basically, Fat Sam's gang seems weak compared to that, and they want to try and get the splurge gun. And at the main character, Bugsy Malone himself, who's played by Scott Baio, he helps them try and get Fat Sam try and get the splurge gun. And you also do have Fat Sam as like his Grand Slam, and you do have great song, Fat Sam's Grand Slam, Speak Easy, and you have Tallulah who like sings there. And she's played by Jodie Foster, and advertisers on there, Scott Baio and Jodie Foster, because they're probably the two biggest name actors in the movie. But she kind of flirts with him, but she's not like the main love interest for him. The main love interest is character Blousey Brown, who's played by a kid named like Florrie Duggar. And I think this is her only acting credit, so I guess that's why they didn't advertise her. But she wants to be a singer, and she also wants to be an actress, and in Hollywood, and Bugsy is also trying to help her with that. And you do also have Blousey tries in like the singing competition, and like in there you do get that girl who I said was there, that live show, Bonnie Langford, she plays a character called Lena Morelli who's singing, and she talked about this when I saw her live, but she's the only one who the singing was actually her, because there's sort of a running joke in the movie is that all the singing in the movie is dubbed over, but it's dubbed over by adult voices. So it's like when they're talking, they're kind of kid voices, like yeah, or whatever. But then it's a lot deeper when they're singing, and it's some of them are kind of cartoony voices, like especially in like the scene Down and Out, when like Bugsy is like talking as well as singing. He's like, "Hey, come on, you guys!" But when he's like singing, his voice is a lot deeper. But she plays a character, Lena Morelli, who has like a high pitched voice, and when she starts singing, sort of the joke is that her singing is bad. I mean, she's like, "Show business is in my veins," like yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of funny that she's the only one who actually had who was actually allowed to sing, but the whole joke is that her singing is bad. I guess maybe they dubbed them because they thought a lot of kids singing might be annoying, but I mean, they've done like stage versions of Bugsy Malone as well, where I guess they have them actually singing. Yeah. And by the way, I got this Belko t-shirt at the Talking Pictures TV live event, which I mentioned, which is very cool. But I mean, my favourite character in the movie would have to be Fat Sam, and the kid who plays him, John Cassisi, he's great. And apparently, like, the reason he was cast was because the director, Alan Parker, he went to a school in America, and he asked them, like, who do you think is the naughtiest boy in your class? And they all said John Cassisi, so he got the role because of that. But yeah, you'd have American kids in it. The American kids are mainly more the main characters, but like the British child actors play like smaller roles in it, but they still like kind of attempt American accent or kind of New York accents. And I mean, some of the accents aren't the best, but it is like young actors, so you can give them that. Their accents might not be the best. But yeah, the way John Cassisi plays Fat Sam is great. The way he does all this shouting, like, "Hey, you bunch of dummies," and stuff like that. He does a really like great. Because John Cassisi is actually also from New York, and I guess the character is called Fat Sam Staccato or something, and obviously it's meant to be an Italian-American character, and with a last name like Cassisi, he's obviously of Italian descent as well, and he is from New York as well. I watched the After They Were Famous episode on this movie, and they did say that not like nothing to do with the YouTube series by like Michael McCrudden, but there's a British documentary TV series that was called After They Were Famous, and they did an episode on this movie. That full episode is in the description on YouTube. Actually, it's not a YouTube series. It's nothing to do with Michael McCrudden's YouTube series, but yeah, that was interesting to watch that. And I think maybe my second favourite performance in this is by Jodie Foster as Tallulah, and she's there as well, and she has this song, like "My name is Tallulah." That's definitely one of my favourite songs from the movie. And I remember I watched a Sky original documentary about Jodie Foster, and they said in the documentary, like, she's the only one in this movie who you actually like forget is a child. I mean, the others, you have kids playing adults, but they still kind of seem like the others still kind of seem a bit like kids. But Jodie Foster, she's very good at acting like older, when she was a child actress, not just in this, but in some of the other roles she had when she was younger, which they talked about in the documentary. And she's good at acting adult, back then, and she continued, of course, acting into her adulthood, which is very cool. And I said, her and Scott Baio, who plays Bugsy Malone himself, they're the two biggest name actors in this movie. And Scott Baio, he does do good in this movie. I did actually hear. Apparently, I heard like there's I know I've seen from a YouTuber, Hey Internet Eric here. He said like he was actually blocked on Twitter by Scott Baio because apparently he made like a joke about him, and apparently Scott wasn't able to take a joke. So I mean, I don't know if he's like, I guess, kind of a difficult person in real life, but I mean, he is good in this movie. I know he's mostly retired these days, but yeah, I do like his sort of acting. And he's from New York as well, which is where the film's set. That is actually filmed in England, as I said, and it's written and directed by an English guy, Alan Parker. This was the first film he ever made. And this is actually my favourite film that he's directed, but I like a lot of his films. Like, he directed like the Pink Floyd movie, The Wall. I love that movie, and I know he did like Angela's Ashes, which is a very great and emotional film. But yeah, this would personally have to be my favourite film of his. And the songs by Paul Williams are great. I mean, that's kind of, I mean, I love the whole idea of like them playing gangsters and stuff, but yeah, as being my favourite musical, like the songs would have to be a big part of that. And Paul Williams does great. He sings a lot, some of the songs as well. He does the singing voices for some of the characters, and he's also known as an actor, of course, as well as a songwriter. And as an actor, you might know him from stuff like he was in the Smokey and the Bandit films as Little Enos. But his songs are great in this movie. I know he also had a cameo in the movie Baby Driver, and Edgar Wright, who directed that movie, is actually a big fan of this movie, so that's part of why. And I know like Paul Williams has also done a lot of work with like Muppet stuff. I know like he did like the songs for like the Muppet Christmas Carol, and I think he worked with the original Muppet Show as well, so that's very cool. So I'd say my favourite song in this movie would have to be You Give a Little Love, which I guess is kind of a reprisal of a song from before that was called Bad Guys, where in that song they were singing like, we're the very best at being bad guys. And in You Give a Little Love they sing as well, like they changed it to we could be the best at being good guys. But I like the Bad Guys one as well, but I'd say I prefer the song at the end, the You Give a Little Love. That would be my favourite song in the movie. And I mean, the movie was made by like the Rank organization as well. The logo is like the man hitting the gong, and I know they've made like Carry On movies. In my opinion, a lot of the best Carry On movies were made there. And they've made films as well starring comedians like Norman Wisdom and Will Hay. So I mean, I like a lot of the stuff that they've put out, and and I know also I did see a person called Peter Bijou. He worked on like the cinematography, and I know he's also worked on the cinematography and stuff like the Monty Python films, which is pretty cool. And I also want something that's interesting. The character who gets shot at the beginning of the movie, shot with a splurge gun, of course, but so it's not violent. But the character is called Roxy Robinson, who's he was part of Fat Sam's gang, so that's why he got shot. But the actor is called John Williams, funnily enough, but not the composer John Williams. But also, there's a character who plays a piano, in Fat Sam's Grand Slam, and his character's name is Razmataz or something. He does singing as well as playing the piano. And the singing voice for that character is done by Paul Williams, of course. The actor the kid who actually played him, funnily enough, is called Michael Jackson, but not that Michael Jackson. And funnily enough, I listened to the commentary on this, and the bit that I found funny was it was a commentary, of course, by Alan Parker, the director, and he said this kid is called Michael Jackson, and he said, like, just to make it clear, this is not the Michael Jackson who got the nose job. I thought that was a funny way to put it. So I would highly recommend this. One of my favourite movies, my favourite musical of all time. Would highly recommend if you haven't seen it. And it was cool to see her live on stage and talk about it. So thanks for watching, and bye.